when a young man walked by. Days, the old man who's got all the money. And the young man ain't got nothing in the world these days. I need a guitar to do the rest. This is the guitar solo. A year and a half ago I had 31 electric guitars that I had worked hard on. They're now all gone. Thanks to American Musical Supply. Being stuck outside as I am, I'm getting more bold about drumming and singing in public. Of course, this place is supposed to be empty. There's probably a crowd behind me with my luck now. Nope. Alright, that's good. Singing has never been my strong point. Lead vocals. Always enjoyed doing harmony vocals when I played drums live. But man, I wish I had a guitar. I didn't start playing guitar, I got my acoustic guitar when I was 7, 8, 9 years old. And I really started playing when I got my electric at 16. All the countless hours of my life I spent learning how to play that instrument. That's just one instrument I play. And it's all taken away from me by a music store. Yeah. So, from the realm of amazing coincidences, it's a coincidence! Ever since I published the first video on here about the fire EMS calling the police on me when I went to them for help, ever since then I've been seeing a lot of the police. Interesting that I didn't before. So let's see, this is just as far, don't forget, all night I was staring at a computer screen or dozing off, and yet, let's see, as I was leaving the library, the police came out there and made a U-turn in front of me with their lights off in the dark, which is dangerous. They could get hit, or someone could hit them and someone could get injured or killed, but par for the course with them. 2 hours later at 9:40 p.m., they pulled in where I was sitting getting warm at a gas station, and they made a point of pulling in very close to us, and even the people who work there have noted how, for some reason that they don't understand, the police have been around there quite a bit at night lately, but they never were before. They were nowhere to be found. Interesting. I wonder what they're saying. Maybe another coincidence, maybe. Then at 1 a.m., 2 hours later, once again drove by the place, same place. This time they didn't come in though, but just kind of slowly drive by. May mean absolutely nothing. I don't even care, to be honest, so I'm not even going to talk about it anymore. Could be a coincidence, who knows. I wanted to clarify in the last video I made here on my 7 days left, I talked about that old lady at the storage who was, as I call it, torturing me over the last several years, and then she complains about me. Just to clarify, torture's probably a pretty harsh word in that case. What it was as she's doing this OCD thing where she goes in every morning and she gets her boxes out and rolls them down and sticks them in another locker and then leaves, comes back the next day and moves them from this locker to that locker, just back and forth every day. There are times, you know, before I got fired when I started work at 8 or 9 on the weekends. And if I was going to bring an instrument or take an instrument back, that's when I had to get into storage. So I was at storage quite often right when they open. And that's when she arrives. And there were times if I was doing buying or selling, or if I was actually working on a guitar, you know, physically setting it up, doing some kind of construction or repair, something along those lines. There were periods where I went into storage, you know, daily for quite a few days in a row. So what I mean is that over those years, anytime I did that, for what it's worth, with very few exceptions, that woman was there doing her little box thing. And, you know, okay, whatever, she's doing her thing. The problem is that she would make this big production. She would load up this cart with her boxes and then make this big production about how she can't just roll them right down the aisle where I'm at because my locker's in between her 2 lockers. So she had to go around one level. And that's the part what I meant. It's just so annoying. And she would just sit there and stare at me, and she's just a grumpy grump. That's what I meant for years. She's off her rocker. But she has a really nice car. I mean, her car is more expensive than most of your homes. So you can bet this manager's never going to accuse her of loitering. Only the homeless guy. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look at the last video I posted. Something else I thought of while I was looking at videos today. One of the things I was getting into, I hadn't bought one yet, but I was working on it. I was doing the research and meeting with some people who already did drone videography. So having the drones and, you know, either photographing nature or city pattern, and there's a lot of reasons I wanted that. For the videos that I make, for making music videos for bands. Don't forget, a drone doesn't have to be up high. It can be hovering at your level as well and be maneuvered as if it was on a dolly. So a drone is incredibly versatile as a camera. So for my video studio, I wanted to have drone photography, and I just wasn't at the point where I knew exactly what to get yet. And with something like that, it's always best to wait as long as you can anyway, because that way you get the most recent technology. So it wasn't urgent that I got it, but it is something that I had been working on, planning on. Thank goodness I didn't buy it, because I would have just ended up selling it for pennies on the dollar, thanks to American Musical Supply. But that would have been part of my video studio, and it also had a lot of research value. For example, if you pop one up in the sky and you watch the traffic patterns over time, and then you run some algorithms on that, you learn a lot about people, the way people drive, the way the police things. You can learn a lot of things with a drone. So I was really looking forward to getting a drone. The kind of research I do, that would have gathered a lot of useful information for me for a variety of reasons, but it'll never happen now. Nothing will ever happen again for me. Thanks to American Musical Supply. This block behind me, one block directly behind me, is a road going this way. And down, backwards here, but down here there's a light, and down here there's a light, right, at either side. The 2 people who've been hit by cars recently, one of them was that way at that intersection, and I believe the other one was about in the middle, like directly behind me. So that close together. In 1 month, just here, pedestrians getting hit, where the dog got killed, and for all I know, both of the guys got killed as well. I never did hear. So I was walking up here, over on that side at that intersection. 4:30 in the morning, there's not a car out here. Not a car out here. So I get to the intersection, I push the button, and as Minnesota so often does, even though there's no traffic and it's 4:30 in the morning, it makes me wait 3 minutes as a pedestrian while it stays red for nothing. And during that time, one car pulled up facing me. to make a left turn. The light changed, the pedestrian sign changed to walk. I started walking, and this car just came straight for the center line as if I didn't even exist. I'm carrying these 2 white bags. I've got this, and it's a pretty well-lit intersection, to be honest. And this person just came as if they didn't see me at all. If I had not dodged them, I would not be making this video. I would be number 3 hit out there. And that happens all the time. The police do nothing about them, but they wouldn't let me drive my car because it had expired tags and no insurance, even though it kept me alive from the freezing cold. Burnsville Police. Burnsville, Minnesota Police. The ones who have been stopping by to say hi a lot lately for reasons that are unknown. At the library today, I had problems with the computer. It's overheating tremendously. The fans stopped working, really. They melted a bit in the car in the heat. And it only takes a fraction of a millimeter for those little fans. Those fans are like feathers. That itty-bitty little bit of bend makes them go ka-ka-ka-ka-ka-ka-ka-ka and hit. That's why it was so loud. One of my coworkers came over and just was, what the heck? This thing sounds like a machine gun. That was 2 years ago. So at the time I got fired, I was looking online trying to find replacement fans. They only cost like $20, but the problem was I couldn't find it for my particular model, so I didn't end up with them. If I had, I wouldn't have a problem. But because of that, this thing overheats and I can't really run anything anymore, like 3D rendering, games. The only way I can run it is if I have a second portable fan that I blow on that. So I was having a lot of trouble today because video editing is one of those things that will cause it to overheat. And if it overheats, quite often it just freezes up, and then I lose every window that's open, and you have to reboot, and you don't want to do a reboot that way. It really messes up your system. So I was having a lot of trouble with that and getting frustrated, and I put my head down at some point, and I just completely dozed off, and I almost slept through the entire hours of the library. Which, great, I need the sleep, yeah. But the problem is, I don't have much time left. And the library's open those hours tomorrow, but after that it's down to where it's limited hours again through the weekend, and then I'm done. So as far as doing anything like these videos, I'm at the mercy of that and the fact that there are times when I just pass out from exhaustion. It isn't up to me anymore. It's just up to nature. Let's see. That letter I sent regarding Minnesota Social Services being an intrinsic fraud, I sent that to the acting U.S. Attorney, Joe Thompson, the one who was filing those charges for fraud against some of these social service agencies. And that's a little different than what I'm dealing with. It's kind of related, but not the same thing. So I sent that to him, and of course they promptly replaced him. Since he was the acting attorney, they promptly replaced him with a permanent attorney. So now I'm going to have to send another one out to him. But it occurred to me that the one I put online where you can read it, it kind of draws it's a 17-page letter, and it draws it so that you can hit the stop bar and read it. But, I don't blame anybody for not wanting to read a document on YouTube. This isn't the most efficient place for a document. So I did just record the first 6 or 7 pages of that in audio. So you can listen to that if you want to know what that is about, where I'm talking about Minnesota Social Services being a fraud from my 10 years experience. That'll give you the first 6 to 7 pages of it, and that's all you really need to get a taste of it. You go read the document if you want the rest, but after that I went into great detail for other reasons on what happened to me. It just wasn't really relevant. And even then I realized I'd left out some pretty important things, pretty important examples of why it's an intrinsic fraud. And by intrinsic, I mean it's just built into what it is. It isn't like somebody came in and started committing crimes or something like that. It's the foundation, the infrastructure, the design of it is intrinsically designed to protect social services, not to protect people that they're supposed to be helping. And that's not what they're addressing with these lawsuits and these indictments. They're talking about people literally committing fraud. And that's the problem. It's great that they're going after those people. They're committing crimes. They should be prosecuted. But the problem with social services is foundational. And until you understand that in Minnesota, social services is 35% of the state budget. All these taxes that they keep raising on you, 35% of it goes to this fraudulent social service system. In 2024, that was 22.7, I believe, billion dollars. That's just for the state of Minnesota, which has 5 million people in it. What about a state like California that has, what, 35, 40 million people? And this is a problem in every state. Social services itself is a fraud. The states copy each other. Once they figure out how to make it self-serving, $22 billion, it's fraudulent, it doesn't work. Where is that money going exactly? Where do you think it's going? Well, it's being wasted, but a lot of it is getting kicked back into the pockets of the legislators who fund that. That's why we end up in Minnesota with people who have no business being in public office getting reelected over and over and over and over again, when it makes no sense. The rest of the country looks at us and goes, what is wrong with this state? What is going on here? That's why. Because they kick it. You fund a social service, and to say thank you that they have a job and a car and a home, they make a campaign contribution, shall we say, to the legislator who funded it. And when the legislators are doling out $22 billion, that's quite a bit of money that comes back, isn't it? Nobody's addressing that. Not even the U.S. attorneys. That's what I've been fighting against for 10 years. It's the same thing anti-smoking did. They just copied anti-smoking. Anti-smoking started that, really. Back in 1988, started in California. Good old Stanton Glantz. It's a scam that's taken over the whole country. Anyone who wants to run a scam, you get the legislators to fund you with tax dollars, especially if you can rob the very people you're persecuting or hurting or not helping or whatever, and then you bring it back as campaign contributions to keep that legislator in office. You do that and the legislator doesn't care if you're running a program that will save every homeless life or turn them into pack animals. They don't care. They just care about what they get out of it. One of the things I talk about in the letter to the U.S. Attorney about social services, and it's part of what I read when I did the reading of this here that I just posted, was about the amount of food that is dumped by, convenience stores, grocery stores, any place that sells food, restaurants, due to Department of Health regulations. So like at this gas station, I don't know how often they do it, but it seems to me that they put new food out there at least every 6 hours. So that's 4 times a day over a 24-hour period. It might even be more than that. They put it out and that food sits for however long, 6 hours or however long it is. Before I came out here, when I was sitting down there, it was one of those times when they went to pick them all up at the end of the night. And I watched them. Every single slot, they had 2 big stands and 2 rows. Every single slot, all the pizzas, all the sandwiches, the burritos, everything. No one had bought a single one of them. And this woman took them all and threw them into a basket, one of those normal size, shopping baskets that you carry with your hand, and it was overflowing, big hump on top. She was actually having trouble carrying it. It was so heavy. And then there were about 20 hot dogs. And I sat there and watched that when I'm this hungry. And she just went and threw it in the trash. And the Minnesota Health Department says that they're in trouble if they give that food to me. Have you ever been hungry before? Like, not just hungry, oh, I'm so hungry, I haven't eaten all day. Not that, but have you ever experienced hunger? Like, third world hunger, where you haven't eaten? This time last year, maybe, around Thanksgiving, what did I go? 8 days, I think? 10? It was at least 8 days with no food. Do you have any idea what that feels like? And then you have to sit there and watch that. Probably 20 pounds of food just one time, and they do this several times a day at that one gas station. And then you have every gas station, grocery store, deli, restaurant in all of the Twin Cities. Probably, I mean, I don't know what the math is. Tens of tons, hundreds of tons of food every day being thrown out to feed wild animals. But it's illegal for them to give it to people who are hungry. And we just sit there and watch that. You just don't understand what it's like. You don't understand until you've been through it. They hadn't bought a single sandwich. Not even one. Not even one. In all those hours they had that food out there. They threw it all away. Oh, and by the way, if you try to dumpster dive and get it and the police catch you, like that one 15-year-old boy I was talking about who did that because he was as hungry as I was, and he did it, and the police tased him. Because you got to tase a 15-year-old boy. I mean, he's such a threat, especially when he's malnourished and emaciated. We deal with things that are different than you deal with. That's what I've been trying to say. Really, for 10 years over several channels, not just the last month on this channel or the last 2 years on the American Homeless Holocaust channel. We deal with things you don't deal with. Period. And you need to know about it. And if you have a heart and a soul, I hope you'll do something about it. Yesterday was International Wombat Day. The nations of the world have gotten together to make sure that people have one day out of every 365 to show their appreciation and their love for wombats. Do I have to say anything else about? See, they don't show any love or appreciation for us. We're human beings. That's what I was getting at. Wombats aren't even my favorite marsupial, you know. Let's see what else we got here. I gotta find out who those wombats' publicist is. Maybe they can kickstart this channel before I die. I just had some notes here for today. Is that all I've got? Uh-oh, that might mean I have to sing again. You don't want that. That is all I have. Well, there is one other. I don't really want to talk about this one, but oh my gosh, I don't want to get into this one. I alluded to it yesterday. It's another osteophobe. Again, when it comes to this idea that you don't understand what it's like, you can try to empathize, but you just don't get it. That's why I spent all these years filming things so people could see it online. But of course, nobody ever watched it, and it got sabotaged and things like that. This creepy stalker I picked up, this guy, I don't know, for some reason this guy wants to be inside my pants so badly, and I don't swing that direction, so he's furious at me, and he's just sabotaged every channel I've had. The guy's a nut job, and whatever the reason is, God, there's some just insane people in this world. The reason I've made these videos is to demonstrate, to show things, like to show all of the house people dumping not just trash in parking lots or off the road, but emptying an entire pickup truck worth of trash and mattresses and stuff. But they blame the homeless. They just made a new policy that doesn't allow homeless people to sleep in their cars at the library anymore. You know why? Because they saw on camera a homeless person urinating in the parking lot. Now, the manager of this branch, this Burnsville branch library, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. I like this guy, and he's earned my respect. And you know, I don't want to speak for him whether he agrees with this or not, but I will say it came from somewhere else. It did not come from him. It came from higher up in Dakota County. And I told him, you know, I mean, I don't think I can do it right now because I have thousands of videos and all that, and everything's in disarray, and I'm not, everything's gone. I can't function anymore. But the fact is, I have, I mean, I don't know how to count how many, but I would think a couple dozen or more videos of people who are clearly housed, unless the homeless guy managed to get a Lexus with a golf bag in the back. I don't know. But I presume these people are housed, but I have video after video after video of these people stepping out and just urinating right next to their car at Walmart or even at home at Planet Fitness. I have these kinds of people, nice cars, clearly housed people, getting out of their cars, slipping around the back and lighting up a crack pipe, stuff like that, utilizing the services of prostitutes, doing drug deals, of course. Got a whole bunch of those. That's how I learned the pattern of how they do the deal. And I told him, if you need me to share this with this person, maybe then this person who made this rule that homeless people can't sleep at the library anymore, maybe they might grow a brain instead of being a medieval hate monger. You see, if somebody causes a problem, even if it's a homeless person, it's the person who caused the problem. It's not the class of person. It's not the type of person who caused the problem. When you start to believe that, that's where racism comes from. That's where osteo-phobia comes from. That's where sexism comes from. That's where these isms come from, is when you don't use your brain that God gave you to use. He gave it to you so you could use it. But this person high up in Dakota County isn't doing that. And they see a homeless person urinating in the parking lot, and they say, well, gee, a housed person would never do that. I'm going to take this entire class of person, and I'm going to ban them from sleeping out there, which puts all of them in danger, extreme danger, and even if they never end up getting actually hurt from it, they're going to get harassed 10 times more by the police now. So they are hurting these people. So I don't care if it was homeless people who were doing something, and apparently what started this was at some other library, and it had something to do with, they actually have like early and late hours, so people can get a card and they can go in an hour or two before the library opens and come in. It's so silly. They close the library and everybody has to leave, and then the librarians just scamper out and take off, and the parking lot's empty, just almost like one frame of a film, just poof, their cars are gone. So the librarians bail out, more, as quickly as a minimum wage employee bails out of their job. And then these people with this card can go back into the library. So instead of just letting them stay in there, those people have to leave, pack up all their stuff, come out, wait for those guys to just disappear like a vacuum, and then they go and they open their bag and they set up their computer again for an hour or two. And apparently homeless people had this card at some other library and they caused some kind of trouble at a library. You know what? When I'm in these study rooms here, most of the time, not all the time, but 55% of the time, most of the time, the people next to me are breaking the rules. Specifically the part about, hey, these are really paper-thin walls, be quiet. It's a library, for heaven's sakes. I get someone who comes in there, they put on a headset, and they kick back and they start making phone calls and trying to pretend that they're the big wheeler dealer in Hollywood or whatever, and such that even people out in the library who aren't in the study rooms can hear them, and it bothers them. Every one of them slams the door. Boo! Which does wonders for your concentration and focus. You're supposed to have one person in the room. They'll bring in 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. They'll just, standing room only. These are really small rooms. There's only like 3 feet of space. I mean, there was a guy yesterday who did this. He's sitting on the, which these are not strong, you know, this was built as an add-on. This guy's sitting on the desk in there. He probably could have collapsed the desk doing that. And they're in there having some loud conversation. But nobody's going after them. Now, if I go up to the library and I say, hey, these people are making a ton of noise, they have been very good about going and putting a stop to it. So I'll say that much. But I don't hear anybody just saying, you know, if we look at who's making all this noise, it does seem to be a certain class of people. As a rule, pretty much every one of them who's doing this, I mean, am I going to sound racist if I say it? Should I even say it, or what? They're Somali. They're wearing the robes, the burqas, all that stuff. And they're not friendly. They're not friendly at all. They'll come up and just stick their face in the window and stare at me. I mean, it is creepy. It is really, really creepy. But am I supposed to hate an entire, nationality because of that? Am I supposed to assume that every Somalian is like that? Or should they take care of the individual who did that because it was that person who did something so nasty, slamming the door, going in there and ruining the study rooms for everybody by shouting and talking loud? No, you deal with the individual. I would never call for the librarians to say, I don't want you letting any Somalians in here anymore, because the only people who are bugging me here and ruining this study room for me are, for what it's worth, Somalis. I would never even think of going up there and saying do that. But that's what this higher up at the library did. Hey, homeless people were causing problems here. Therefore, all homeless people, this class of person, we are now making this a whites-only library. I mean, a housed-only library. Until you've been through what we've been through, you don't understand. You can try to empathize, but until you have experienced the 21st century equivalent of nigger go home, this is whites only, until you've experienced that, you don't know what I'm talking about. You don't know why I'm sitting here looking like this in the freezing cold. You don't get it. The person who instituted this policy where these homeless people can't sit in their cars anymore, and if I still had my car, I would be one of them who is now displaced from that, because that's where I slept. That person presumably has a high salary, a nice home, probably more than one car, a family, and they didn't lose every possession they acquired over their entire lifetime over the last year and a half like I did, when I was attacked because I'm homeless. And yet this guy or girl or whoever it is attacking homeless people as a group. You see, it's discrimination. Can you imagine if that person did it with a, quote, protected class under the Civil Rights Act? We're not going to allow women to be there anymore. We've had it. We're not going to allow black people. We're not going to allow this, that, and the other. Can you imagine? But if you say that about homeless people, everyone's just like, cool, it's fine with me. I don't want those creepy homeless people around anyway. Well, I'm one of those creepy homeless people. And I don't deserve that. Just like a Somali who goes into the library and is respectful of everyone else and just takes care of their own business and doesn't go in and disturb everyone else, they don't deserve to be thrown out of the library because other Somalis are in there behaving in a low-class manner. But this person, this higher up at the library, can't figure that out. That's the power of hatred. And they find ways to cloak their hatred. Well, we're not going to say that only homeless people can't sleep outside. We're going to say that nobody can sleep outside anymore at night. See, it's not discriminating against homeless people. Of course, the fact of the matter in reality is that no one other than a homeless person is going to sleep outside a library at night. So effectively, we are singling out homeless people, but it's too bad I'm going to die soon. I've made this offer to others before. I've never had anyone take me up on it. I would love to have a public debate televised at the state capitol with whoever this pile of human garbage is at the library system who said homeless people can't sleep outside. If there's homeless people in a library causing problems, deal with those people who are causing the problems. Don't hate the entire class of people. That's primitive, it's barbaric, it's embarrassing. And that person does not deserve the salary they have. You look at the work I'm doing to try to bring dignity to homeless people and to end this disenfranchisement of homeless people, take that person's salary and give it to me, because I've done all this work and I've got nothing except loss of everything I worked to earn my entire life as a result of it. Why does that person have a job? That person should be in the stocks in the public courtyard with people spitting on them. This is a primitive hate monger. This is the person who would say 150 years ago in the South, "Nigger, go home. This is for whites only." And they just cloak it in other language. That person at that library system is despicable. Do they want the videos of me that I've made? I mean, I don't have time to find them anymore out of probably thousands of videos I have now, but they're there. All the videos of housed people urinating in public, dumping their trash all over, and believe me, it's a whole lot more trash than homeless people are, because housed people accumulate a whole lot more trash than homeless people do. Homeless people throw a trash bag out of their car maybe. Housed people empty their trunk when they're dumping their trash. Yeah, you'll see homeless, well, frankly, I mean, to be honest, I don't really see homeless people doing drugs. They clearly do. Maybe it's just where I'm at. I imagine downtown Minneapolis, you're going to see it a lot more blatantly. But where I'm at in Burnsville, I haven't really seen homeless people do drugs at all, or even drinking, maybe once in a while. But I see housed people all the time out with a pipe. But before they legalize marijuana, all the time. I see them with bottles of booze all the time. Like I said, I filmed them cheating on their spouses, presumably. I mean, with a prostitute. Why are they hiding it? Bring them home. Bring the hooker home if you're so proud of it. Or is your spouse there? And these, you can tell by the cars and by the hairstyles and all that. You can tell these are, I mean, it depends on the person, obviously. Like I said, that one place where it happened, the whole park was dedicated to this in the morning. All the professionals would come in and do their drug of choice and whatever in the morning and then bail. And I was there long enough that, again, I pay attention, I gather data, I see what's going on. Many of those people ended up driving over to the big healthcare skyscraper across the street, Frontline Heroes. But they look like lawyers, they look like doctors. And if you're not aware that nurses are among the heaviest illegal drug users in America, if you're not aware of that, well, now you are. You're welcome. Doctors and lawyers typically are not homeless, by the way. In case you didn't know that. What was I getting at? Okay, osteo-phobes. So, kind of got diverted by this person who has me very angry in the Dakota County library system, who has demonstrated no intelligence, really. I mean, I don't even know how to, again, I wish I could just debate this person publicly. I wouldn't fear that one bit. This is a hate monger. This is the same thing as racism or sexism. I just don't understand how people can't see this. This is just hate. Primitive, barbaric. Just this person should be working driving these garbage trucks. They have no business having a position of responsible authority over anybody. if they're just fundamentally a barbarian. They should take the manager of the Burnsville Library, put him in charge of it. Like I said, he seems to be a really good guy. It's disgusting. So, at this gas station, there's various places I go, and this one gas station has particularly friendly people, so I like to come in and chat with them and get to know them. I've given them a lot of my stuff because I have to give away my stuff since I don't get to keep it. I just got to work and earn it, but thanks to American Musical Supply, I don't get to keep it. So I can either lose it in storage and have them auction it off, or I can give it away to nice people that I like. So, I go in there and I talk a lot, and of course when I'm there, like when I'm anywhere, I pay attention to everything, especially a functioning business. I'm always watching businesses and taking notes. And so what I'm getting at is that for all the time, the year or so that I've been going in and out of there and seeing these people, I probably know more about how that business functions than anybody who works there. When I first started going in there, they had a different manager. When you went in, this manager made every person who came in there feel like they were the most welcome customer ever. And especially if you're a regular. He knew their names, he was so friendly, he stopped everything and smiled. You didn't just go there to get gas and food, you went there to get a boost of happiness and joy before you started your day. That's the manager they had. They fired him, or got rid of him, or chased him away, or whatever. I don't even know exactly. They replaced him with a guy who brought his own dark cloud with him, which has hovered over this place ever since. This guy doesn't smile. He's not friendly. He doesn't get to know anybody. He just has this mean-looking grimace on his face all the time. You gotta understand, I used to run hotels. That's hospitality industry. When you run a store like this, that's hospitality. If you're not hospitable to people, people are gonna go somewhere else. They're gonna go somewhere where they feel welcome instead of somewhere where they feel like, this guy looks like he wants to kill me. Which is what this guy's like. This guy is a human disaster. I mean, he doesn't have any skills whatsoever as far as social skills. He has no business being in the position he's in. Again, just like this guy running the Dakota County Library making these decisions. Well, as you would expect from what I just described, he is an osteteophobe. So from the first time I'm in there, this guy just looked at me. Actually, let me correct that. When he first came in there, I was still in the car, and I didn't look too bad. I certainly didn't look like this. It was warm, so I was able to shave more often. I didn't look too bad. But I was only in there 1, 2, 3 times before just the fact that I came in repeatedly, he would look at me and just stare and watch me because I was interacting with his employees. And it clearly bothered him for some reason. Why? I don't know. Very strange. But as I became more disheveled and everything, it became obvious I was homeless. And from that point, this guy has been really, really mean to me. And the employees have told me that this guy has said, keep an eye on me because I'm there to steal. Yeah. I'm about to go into the wilderness and die because I refuse to break the law. It's illegal for me to apply for a job as a homeless person. I will be committing a felony. I would rather die than break that law. Because I'm a law-abiding citizen. Unlike people who do drugs in their workplace, for example, who are breaking the law. Unlike people who use employment at will as a murder weapon, who are breaking the law. I have spent my entire life fighting against lawlessness. 10 years ago, I sent a letter to the President of the United States with 50 existential threats to America. One of them was lawlessness. I have fought against the lawlessness of this ridiculous government in Minnesota, particularly since Tim Walz took over. And this guy, by looking at me, not getting to know me, not talking to me, but just by looking at me, he knows that I'm a thief. I'm there to steal. Of course, the fact that I'm the one who, since I'm observing things all the time, tell the employees, hey, this guy just stuck a burrito in his pants. Because I don't want anybody stealing from that place. That doesn't mean anything. See, this guy's just a simple-minded, hateful, bitter, rotten, to the core human being. And the thing is, he scared off his best employees, me, the homeless guy, who this guy thinks is so rotten just because I'm homeless. Never met me, doesn't know anything about me. I've tried going up and talking to him to try to build a rapport with him. And he would have none of it. He would not talk to me. Of course, from what I understand, the guy has no social skills anyway, but he won't talk to me, so I couldn't do that. On 2 occasions, with 2 of his best employees, longest-term employees, it was me, the homeless guy, who doesn't work there and doesn't get paid. When this guy angered them so much because he treated them in such a dehumanizing manner, such a disrespectful manner, they wanted to just quit on the spot. They were furious. And I know their situations. They can't afford to lose their jobs. It was me who pulled them aside, and I went and I let them let it out. I said, let it out. I'll listen. Get it out of your system. I don't want you losing your job over this. Let me have it. Let me have what this piece of shit deserves. And I sat there and I took it so that these people could unload and calm down and go back inside and keep their jobs. That's what I did. And the reason they're angry is because of this guy who's such a horrible, awful manager. He has a job. He has a car. I don't. And this guy just looks at me and he tells them to watch me because I'm there to steal. You see, if you haven't been through it, folks, you don't understand what it's like. You can read about Jim Crow laws and what it might have been like before the civil rights movement, not just in the South, but anywhere, if you're black. You can read about the Holocaust, like I have my whole life, and try to understand what it's like when you're forced to walk around with a Star of David, and that means you're going to be treated really badly. And the day's going to come when they're going to take you away, and nobody's going to miss you. You can read about that, and you can try to empathize with those people, but if you haven't been through it, you don't understand the horror of it, and the injustice of it, and the stupidity of it. Because the perpetrators of these things are among the dumbest people on the face of the earth. Like this manager at this gas station, or like that higher up at the library system. If you haven't experienced that kind of treatment, you just don't get it. The closest you're going to come is if you maybe watch a Holocaust video where they interview, like those twins who were just manhandled by Joseph Mengele, who were old ladies, they couldn't even talk about it for 40 years, and in the 80s they finally came out and started talking about it, and they didn't have anything good to say about the Holocaust, as Joseph Mengele experimented on them. You can see their anger, the fact that Mengele got away with it, which is why I call my award the Joseph R. Mengele Got Away With It Award, which is what's happening with American Musical Supply right now. They're getting away with murder, just like Mengele got away with murder, for similar reasons. When you see those people talk, guess what? They start getting like I am. They start getting agitated, they're angry. Their voice elevates. Do you think I'm just an angry person? If I'm left alone and I'm not attacked by people, you know what? I'm actually the guy who everyone loves. The irony of this is that so many times throughout my life, people have always, not always, but I mean throughout my life, I've had people say, how do you stay so calm all the time? And even I don't recognize that person anymore in me. But that's who I was. Becoming homeless and dealing with this endless injustice in Minnesota and the stupidity of the people who run this state has mangled me over the last 10 years. I'm a different person. Yeah, I get really upset now because I've just had it. How do you tolerate this much stupidity when nobody's doing anything about it? Why is that guy at the library having a job. Why? I could do a better job than him. I'm competent. Any job I've been brought into, at least until American Musicals play, they created a whole new department for me because I had such unique skills and so much self-motivation. That's the guy who has the job, the car, presumably a family. He didn't lose all of his possessions and everything, his family heirlooms, everything he's acquired over his entire lifetime like I did. But without even meeting me, because I'm a class that he doesn't like, he prohibits me from sleeping in the only safe place we had to sleep in if you had a car. This clown who runs this gas station, all he's done is anger. He hasn't just angered all of his employees to the point where every one of them wants to quit because of this guy, just because of this guy. But also, because they're so agitated now, they're starting to infight and backbite each other a bit. And the beauty of this place was that it ran so well. It was so unique from other gas stations because they all got along with each other so well. This guy has ruined that. And I'm not even getting into the parts about actually managing a business. He's terrible. The guy doesn't have the foggiest idea what he's doing. He's utterly incompetent. Just how this gas station chain could employ this guy as anything other than the guy who takes out the trash, I can't even. I don't know, somebody's brother-in-law, I guess. I don't know. But I don't like when some clown like that just looks at me and then goes and tells his employees, watch this guy, he's here to steal. I don't like that. Especially when I'm about to go out and die because I refuse to break the law. Even as the Burnsville Police Department told me to break that law. Social Services tells me to break that law. Government agencies tell me to break that law. And if you haven't figured it out, that's a bad thing that those people and institutions are telling me to violate the law. That's a bad thing. That means they are lawless. That means they have no respect for the rule of law. It means that the homeless person is the only one doing the right thing. Just like when Social Services brought me into that apartment a few months ago, said this could be yours, and then I did what the law demands of me, my due diligence. I read the fine print, I asked questions. And they were so surprised and horrified by this. What'd they do? They threw me out of the hotel, they never talked to me again, left me out here to die. The homeless guy is the only one who's doing everything right. And this clown looks at me, determines that I'm homeless, and immediately assumes I'm there to steal. That's beautiful. Until you've experienced it, folks, you don't know what it's like. If you're not a thief, if you're someone who's totally honest, and you value things like that, and you go up to somebody, and they look at you, and there's something about you they don't like. They don't like the color of your skin. Your last name is Stephanopoulos, and they're Turkish. So they hate you because Turks and Greeks don't get along, right? You're Jewish. And this person makes assumptions about you that are just nothing to do with reality. Does that make you happy? Well, for 10 years, I've had that on a daily basis. When I was at that gas station today, because the way I look, I've got my bags, I'm sitting at the table there, then I've got my bags. It's obvious I'm homeless. It's totally obvious. This one old farmer type dude, real tall with the jean jacket and the square hat, he walks in and looks at me and he just gets this snarl on his face. Just like, ew. And I'm just thinking, dude, you don't know who I am. How dare you? How dare you? You didn't just bring me down a notch. You just brought you and your whole family all the way down. That's how you represented your family name, and yourself by doing something that despicable. But people don't get it. It's perfectly legal to discriminate against homeless people, and it's socially acceptable because we're the only class, if you will, of citizen that the government mandates discrimination against. They mandate it. There's others that it's allowed through certain games played with laws, but it's mandated with homeless people. And there's no other class of citizen where discrimination is just mandatory, where it's instigated by the government itself more than anyone else. So yeah, this clown at the gas station, I mean, again, as a business person, it's just fingernails on a chalkboard. To see someone who's that incompetent, and when I hear the stories of how he runs the place, and I see the impact it has on such good employees, and I see the impact it has on customers. I mean, every regular customer there, this guy just makes their skin crawl. Every one of us feels like this guy's got bodies buried in his backyard. It's just the vibe he gives off. And remember, the manager they had before made everybody just feel like it's party time. He made everyone feel so good when they entered that place, and that rubbed off on his employees. So the whole crew was wonderful. It was just such a totally different gas station than every other. You know, at that time I had a car, so I knew that. This one guy single-handedly destroyed that, and this guy has the audacity to just look at me, tell that I'm homeless, and tell them I'm there to steal. I'd like to debate that guy in public sometime. Something tells me he wouldn't do it. So that's all I got. Are there people here yet? Tempted to play another song, but my hands have gotten cold and I can't play with gloves on very well. I don't have what it takes. I'm not a musician anymore. I was from the age of 3, but a music store took that all away from me. And the worst thing they took in that regard, as I've said many times in videos, is they've associated music with evil. Music was my respite. It was my Garden of Eden. Going to music always brought me to paradise. Always, always, no matter what it was. If I was learning an instrument or just listening to music or listening to new music I hadn't heard before, learning music theory, learning about instruments or effects, recording techniques, talking to musicians and learning their experiences of what they think about music and how they learned. Anything related to music used to take me to paradise. And thanks to American Musical Supply, for the last year and a half, I have to fight to even try to enjoy anything related to music, because now they have associated it with murderous evil. But the courts of the United States of America and the attorneys, these professionals, you know, the ones I see out in the car with the prostitutes and the crack pipes and all that, these guys will help someone get $3 million because they spilled barbecue sauce on themselves, but they won't do anything for me. And what I just described about them destroying music for me is just one tree in my forest, and they shaved the whole forest to the ground. There's nothing left, except me now with what, 4 days left until I go out into the wilderness to die. This is absurd. This is sheer neglect. It is incompetence on a scale that to me just demands judgment from God. So I'll be back with another update tomorrow. Thanks y'all for watching.